Anyway, if the NHS event didn't happen, you might not be where you are today. Do you agree?
Yes. In a way, it's my discharge from the NHS, from hospital portering, was at the time, it was a very, very upsetting thing to happen. And it was shocking. It made me angry. It made me feel that I'd been betrayed. But I had a little voice at the back of my head of reassurance. The whole time I was going through this experience, I just felt this feeling of, not exactly peace, it wasn't peace, but I felt as if someone was saying to me, don't worry, just stick with it, everything's going to be fine, stick with it.
Yeah.
And as it happened, when I left portering, I didn't miss it as much as I thought I would.
Oh.
Not least because I actually walked straight out of that job into another. I mean, within a couple of weeks I found another job. And I was as a self-employed gardener, house cleaner, and general odd job man. My daughter's uncle, luckily, works in that field, and he was just about to retire. Or it's poor health. He's quite ill, but I took over a lot of his work. I mean, he introduced me to some people in the area where I work, this is the only way you can really get jobs there. You know, people. It's through word of mouth. People getting to know you, they can trust you, things like that. And so I found myself. I picked myself up. I kept going, and I now had. I just moved forward. I put it behind me. I moved forward, and to be honest, it's actually been a lot easier for me because what I do now doesn't involve shift work, and it's infinitely less stressful.
Yeah.
Which means I have more time and more mental space to do other things, which includes Hapanmo Radio. I wouldn't be able to do Hapanmo Radio if I was at the hospital.
There you go.
I started Hapanmo Radio a couple of months after I got sacked,
Oh.
and I wouldn't be able to do that otherwise. I really wouldn't.
All right. Okay. So let's go to the reason for your T-shirt.
Right.
So
This is Roswell 70, 1947 to 2017, marking the 70th anniversary of the Roswell UFO incident. Now this is actually an event I put on. I organised an event in Oxford in July, which, as it says, marks the 70th anniversary of the Roswell incident. And that is, this was the only event outside Roswell itself in the entire world to mark that event. And I knew that something would be happening because we were coming up to the big 70. And on the 60th anniversary of Roswell, there was a big thing, there's several conferences and things like that. So I thought, right, there's going to be one this time. I must go along to the whatever anniversary conference is going on in Britain. As it turned out, no one organised one.
Oh.
So whenever I'm in that situation, I said, well, if no one else is going to do it, I'll have to do it. So I organised one.
Yes.
And it was a wonderful day. It really went well. We had great speakers. Miles was there.
Yeah.
Tony Topping, myself speaking, Colin Wolford was there, a guy called John Scarry came over from Ireland. About 20-25 people came along. It was really, really good. And it was really nice. And it was so successful that I'm going to do another one this year. Oh, I'm sorry, next year. I'm doing another one in May.
Okay.
It's going to be called Dreaming Saucers.
Okay.
And it's in the same venue. It's a pub called, I kid you not, the White House.
Wow.
That's its name. I'm not joking. It just happens to be the name of the pub. It's very, very well located in Oxford because it's not easy getting a place in Oxford where there's good car parking and easy access and things like that. So it's called the White House, and it's on the 12th and 13th of May. So if you want to come along, let me know, and I'll be putting tickets on sale soon.
Okay.
So.
So to come.
Yeah, I mean the Roswell incident is an event in which I think I described this in previous videos when a UFO actually crashed.
Yeah.
Came down on the Earth's surface and was secretly salvaged by the government. Happened on July the 8th, 1947. And so this was the 70th anniversary. It happened to be a Saturday, July the 8th, 2017.
Wow.
So we had a really good
You
time.
got that right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a great day.
Good.
And I got to thank Tino Tiberius Kirk for doing this run of T-shirts, which he managed to sell them all in the end. I'm very glad because so he did get his money back.
Good.
Made a little profit, but yeah. So I thought it was an appropriate T-shirt to wear to this juncture.
Oh, thank you. Wow, privilege and an honour.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So, do you have anything more to say about that one?
I think we covered it on a previous video in quite great detail. But the UFO event, the UFO phenomenon is incredibly important.
Yeah, yeah.
We are being visited by
definitely, yeah.
beings from non-human intelligences interacting with the human race, and we see their craft. These are vehicles, flying vehicles, and there's no doubt they exist. The evidence is all there.
Okay, I got a little bit of footage, which I'll show you afterwards.
Sure.
Which happened on the 5th of November.
Right, because that's interesting. Because I saw some of your footage last time. It was quite interesting.
Yeah.
Did you film it out the window?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all. But anyway, you want to talk about Harry, don't you?
Yeah. Now this is quite topical, isn't it?
It is.
Because it was announced yesterday that Prince Harry's getting married. Yep. The royal bachelor's getting hitched at last. And of course, William got married a couple of years ago to Kate, Duchess of Cambridge, and they've had 2 children, and George and Charlotte. I put a bet on Victoria being the girl's name because I did think Victoria should be called Victoria. It would fit in with the pattern of the naming of the royals, yeah, because those children are very, very important. George especially, I knew he'd be called George.
Now, you know, in Queen Charlotte's hospital, there is a picture of her up on the wall, and she was a black woman.
Who was?
Queen Charlotte.
Was she?
Yeah.
Who was Queen Charlotte exactly?
I don't know exactly.
Oh right. I mean, this is interesting. I mean, I don't know why they called her Charlotte, this little girl, but she's pregnant again apparently, Kate.
Oh gosh.
Apparently she's pregnant again. Although personally, I think they grow these kids in
other people.
either other people or in artificial wombs, which they do have. They do have that technology.
Yeah.
They're not good. And well, I think that nurse. I'm going to get onto Harry in a minute. I just want to get a bit of background, but that nurse Jacinta Saldana, the nurse who killed herself, looking after Kate. No way was that suicide. That was not suicide.
Okay.
I think she saw something which she shouldn't have, or found something out about Kate that she shouldn't have found out.
Yeah.
Or it was some kind of ritual sacrifice.
Okay.
But it was not because these 2 idiot Australian journalists phoned up and pretended to be the Queen.
Yeah.
That is just so. I mean, this is the idea that an experienced nurse would kill herself because of that is absurd. Nurses are made of tougher stuff than that. They have to be nurses.
Okay.
So I think that was not a suicide. Prince Harry. Now, funny thing about Prince Harry is William. You can very, very clearly see Charles and Diana's child.
Yeah.
You can see it in his face.
But there was rumours that he was, Diana was conceived by, not Diana.
William.
William was conceived through Diana and the Spanish king.
It's possible. I mean, it's possible the resemblance to Charles actually comes not directly from Charles, but from some other source, who's also Charles's relative.
Yes.
I mean, one thing's clear is, the inbreeding of the royals is quite incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the reasons Diana was brought in was because they needed... Diana's not from the Habsburg bloodline. The throne of England is from the Habsburg bloodline, which is one of the 13 Illuminati bloodlines, the ruling families of this earth. Diana is not. Diana was actually from the Stuarts, she's descended from the Stuarts, which include King James II.
Yes.
Who fought William of Orange at the Battle of the Boyne in Ireland, which was a ritual. It was not a battle, it was a ritual. As Andrew Power has correctly discovered, who was a member of the Orange Order, he's researched this.
Wow.
So they brought her in basically because they were just becoming too inbred. And they had all kinds of problems like haemophilia, which affected little Prince Alexei of Russia. He was shot dead by the Bolsheviks in the October Revolution, but if he wouldn't have lived more than a few years anyway, because
Okay.
He had haemophilia.
Also, porphyria or something. There's a condition.
Progeria.
Okay, there.
There's several different conditions they have.
Yeah.
You know, some of them have more. You can't see it quite clearly, but I don't think this affects any of the current royals. But some of them have more than 5 fingers because they have this polydactyly, which yeah. But they're all very, very closely related. When they dug up the bones of the last of the Romanov family in 2007, these were the last Russian royals. They found a blood relative to compare them with, and they chose Prince Philip. No. Harry's. If you notice about Harry's doesn't look like Charles at all. A man he does look very much like, if you compare the photos of when he's young, is Tim Hewitt. Now Tim Hewitt, in 1983, the year Harry was conceived, was the riding instructor of Princess Diana, and you could put the word riding instructor in quotes if you like.
Okay.
He certainly taught us some moves in the saddle.
Yeah.
And there's always been a rumour ever since then that Harry was actually Hewitt's son.
Yeah, and she did profess to actually be in love with Tim Hewitt.
Yes, Diana had a very tragic life. She was in love with Hewitt. She was in love with a man called Barry Manakee as well, who was a police bodyguard.
Okay.
He was killed, supposedly in a motorcycle accident, but well, I think that road traffic accident was about as real as the one that eventually did her in.
Okay.
But she actually cried, and she told her friend Paul Burrell. She said they killed him. They'd taken him out.
Yeah.
She was in love with Tim Hewitt. She was not in love with Charles. She said her marriage to Charles was the worst day of her life. That the famous royal wedding.
Yes.
In I think it was 81, wasn't it, when they had the famous royal wedding, and in St Paul's Cathedral, which not in Westminster Abbey, strangely enough.
Yes.
The reason they chose St Paul's Cathedral is because it was the site in Roman times of a temple to Diana, the goddess Diana.
Ah, gotcha.
And she actually died on the Pont de l'Alma tunnel in Paris, which was also the site of an underground cave, which was in Roman times was a temple of Diana.
Ah.
Diana is the goddess of the moon and the huntsman.
Yeah.
And the name Pont de l'Alma in French actually means Bridge of the Moon Goddess.
Okay.
So it's all ritual.
Yeah.
Harry is an aberration within the normal ritual. If he is Hewitt's son, then he is not part of their bloodline. He's not part of either the Habsburg or the Stuart bloodlines. So he's not part of the Windsor dynasty.
But is he not part of the Stuart dynasty through Diana?
He is. He's on the bend. He's what they call the bend sinister.
Oh.
Which means he has a father who's outside the bloodline. This doesn't mean that he doesn't mean he's completely useless to them, but it means that he's not as important as William anymore, because he's not pure blood. Now, what happens to the bend sinister in these aristocratic bloodlines? They usually meet some kind of accident, and they're got rid of. When Harry went off to Afghanistan, I was very worried. I was concerned for him because I thought this is a perfect opportunity to take him out and blame it on someone else.
Yeah.
I mean, he had nothing to be fear from the enemy. The danger, I think, was from the possibility that someone might try to kill him.
Yeah.
But he came back, and they decided to let him live, and he's now. I think his status now has certainly been reduced. You can see it in the way he's not as. I mean, I know he's not. He's further down in line for the throne anyway. But I mean, he's certainly of lower status than William, because they know he's Hewitt's kid. So he was conceived in a love affair, Diana's love affair.
Yeah.
But he has fallen in love with I mean, whether he actually fell in love with her willingly or whether he was told to marry her. I don't think these royals ever get to choose their partners.
Wow.
It's all arranged marriages. But his partner is someone called Meghan Markle, who is a young actress.
Yeah.
From the United States. She's American. And it was announced yesterday that they're getting married. They're getting married. They're going to have another royal wedding. Harry and Meghan.
Yeah.
Meghen. It's spelled slightly differently. Always Meghan. I can't remember. But it's Merkel. She's no relation to Angela Merkel. She's spelled differently. Now, when I heard that they were together, I thought at the time, I don't think these royal people, as I say, are allowed to just have relationships with whoever they want. I think they are told to. This is not a secret that they have arranged marriages. This is an interesting thing because one of the Queen Mother is called. Her name was Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon.
Yeah.
And she was from Scotland in the Scottish aristocracy of Glamis Castle, and the Duke of, I can't remember the name, the title of her father, but the reason she ended up marrying King Edward VI is because of a deal that was done long before she was born. Because basically the Duke, as his name is, the Duke of whatever he was called, actually helped shelter a royal fugitive. Well, what happened was that Prince Albert Victor in 1888 there was an attempt to kill him.
Why?
Because he had married a woman called, I can't remember the name of it, Elizabeth Croft, who was an Irish Roman Catholic, and he'd chosen his own partner rather than go with who they were told. Prince Albert Victor he was actually the oldest son of Queen Victoria, and he was mentally subnormal because of all the inbreeding. He was mentally subnormal. He was partly deaf, and so he was considered unfit to rule. So they tried to get rid of him, but he'd married this woman, and they had a baby. Now, this is a long, drawn-out story, but basically, a group of Elizabeth's friends got together and decided to blackmail the royal family. And they were ritually murdered. They were hunted down on the street, killed, and their bodies were mutilated in a way which indicates a ritual killing. We know the actual murders we're talking about are quite famous. They're known as the Jack the Ripper murders.
Oh.
They are. And they were carried out by the royal family.
Okay.
They were not the work.
But we're told that the Ripper murders were of prostitutes.
They were. Elizabeth's friends were all prostitutes. They were prostitutes, yeah. Elizabeth herself worked as a prostitute too. And but this is all leading up to what we're talking about here, because what happened after that? But the thing about Prince Albert Victor, he's known as Prince Eddie. He was actually taken out hunting one day near Glamis Castle, and he was pushed off a cliff. He survived the fall. He broke his arm and he broke his leg, but he survived the fall, and he crawled back to the castle. He had nowhere else to go, and the Earl took him indoors and took him inside, and basically sheltered him. And the royal family announced that Prince Eddie had died. Prince Albert Victor had died. The thing about it is, though, they could have tried to kill him again, but the thing is, the Earl had some dirt, or the Duke of Glamis Castle, had some dirt on the Habsburgs himself, because he had sheltered another member of the family with their permission long ago, and so he had they'd done a deal. They did a deal. Oh. Prince Eddie was allowed to live, but he was not allowed to leave Glamis Castle. He spent the rest of his life in Glamis Castle. He finally died in 1932.
What, like Assange's?
Yeah, he's very like Assange. Oh, no one knew about him. He lived his whole life in Glamis Castle. Oh. He died I think he was about 65, and he died in 1932 at the age of 65. So. Oh. But there's a photograph of him as an old man, sitting in his room painting pictures. Oh. That's what he used to do. He used to like painting pictures.
Good. Were they good pictures?
Yeah, I mean, the ones I saw were good. Obviously, the problem is he painted them for his own amusement, but no one's ever going to see them. Or if they're shown, they'll be anonymous. No one will ever know that he painted them. But the deal was that the daughter of the Duke of Glamis Castle, whose title I can't remember, one of his daughters would marry a prince of the realm. And one of his daughters, Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon, married Prince Edward, son of George VI, grandson of Queen Victoria, who became King Edward VI. And we know Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon today as Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother.
Yeah.
So that's how they do it. You see, these things are all arranged. And Harry's marriage to Meghan is arranged.
Wow.
I don't believe that he chose this woman that he's marrying. I don't believe he chose her. I believe she was chosen for him. I mean, this is how they always do things. Now, if you look, I started looking into her background. This Meghan Markle.
Yeah.
I mean, she's being portrayed as some kind of commoner joining the royals, as Kate was.
Yeah.
Kate was portrayed as the commoner because her father's an airline pilot. He's got tattoos. That means she's from a good old working class background.
Okay.
But no, Kate actually has is from an aristocratic royal bloodline. It turns out Meghan is as well. Meghan Markle is. Now she's on her father's side. She's actually descended from one of the ancestors of the Duke of Glamis, Elizabeth Bowes. You know the name Bowes-Lyon. It's the same name.
Yeah, yeah.
So she's descended from the same family. They have a common ancestor.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of fuss is being made over the fact she's mixed race. They're saying, oh, look, it just shows how modern and progressive the royals are because they actually have a lot of... She had a black mother. Her background described as... Her mother's described as African-American, which is how they say black today in the United States. And her great-great-great-grandfather was a slave on a Georgia plantation. However, I mean, this is much harder to trace. I wouldn't be surprised if on her mother's side she's also descended from African nobility.
Yeah.
The indigenous African stream has its own version of the Illuminati. It has its own empress, and it has its own royal bloodlines. And people who are members of that royal bloodline in Africa also rise to positions of power. Good examples are Robert Mugabe, who's just gone. Robert Mugabe is descended from the Mashona Empire. His ancestors were Mashona, part of the Mashona Empire, which is a large culture which occupied much of southern Africa a long time ago. And he's also very rich, but his family made their fortune in the slave trade. So Robert Mugabe has money in his family, which comes from taking many of his fellow Africans, putting them in chains and sending them on ships to head to the plantations in the Caribbean. And he used to round them up, put them in chains, send them off. Nelson Mandela is also he's a prince of the Thembu tribe, which is part of the Xhosa nation in South Africa. And I wouldn't be surprised if on her mother's side you see the same thing. It's that Meghan Markle is descended from African royalty, as well as on her father's side she's descended from European royalty.
Okay.
I mean, the fact that she's mixed race is irrelevant. The royal family, racially, the royal families are very different to normal people anyway.
Yeah.
They may look like white people, but they're actually, in terms of their background, they're almost a race apart of their own.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Not
and they're all.
reptilians.
I know. I mean, their genetics. I mean, they're already like there's a lot of Middle Eastern stock actually in their bloodline.
Yeah.
Because the Queen is directly related to King Saud and some of the Arabian kings and the caliphs. So the caliphs of Baghdad and the caliphs of various parts of the Middle East are part of our own royal family.
Wow.
So, I mean, obviously, I've got nothing against these people, or if they are people and they're reptilians, even if they are reptilians, like David Icke says. I don't bear them any ill will. I hope Harry and Meghan will be happy, you know. But I don't think it's going to be easy for either of them, you know. I think they're going to find it difficult. Really well. Just like his mother.
Yeah.
Just like all these people in the royal family. You know?
they'll find out.
I guess we'll find out they're getting married in May.
Wow.
I hope it's not the same day as Dreaming Saucers.
That would be dreadful. Wow.
Just shift the date then, won't I?
Yeah. Would you?
I think I might on that outcome. I might have to, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's just going to be just impossible otherwise.
Yeah. Why?
It's because there'll be so much focus on this event.
Yeah.
That people won't be able to come to the conference. They won't come to the conference. Unfortunately, they may not come to the conference.
Okay.
And the transport networks will be held up and stuff like that.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, that would be bad. Right. So, have you heard of William Levin Good?
William Levin
Good.
Good? No.
Have you not? Or somebody called Lefty?
Lefty.
Yeah.
William. Who is he exactly?
I think he was the one who worked out that crop circles.
Oh, William Levin Good.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I've heard of him.
Okay. So he worked out that vortices form to create crop circles.
Now this is interesting because he studied some of the plants actually that were in the crop circle.
Yeah, and I think it
The
was
soil as well.
and the electric currents.
Yeah. He did this thing called it was he and his colleague. They did lots of studies of all the crop circles. They went around them all.
Yeah.
And they found. You see, they were testing the hypothesis that these are just man-made formations.
Yeah.
Created by people with sticks, and they found out there was a distinct difference between the ones made by mechanically with planks and ones that are not. There's some that appear not to have been made that way, and they're basically these are ones which, as often claimed, they form spontaneously, and they're created by some kind of non-human intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And William Levin Good, I mean, some people have criticised his work, but from what I've seen, it still stands. It's still valuable what he's done.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. I think Patty Greer was talking to Albert Lambermont Weber about, from those studies, this machine has been made, but that's as far as she went talking about it. She's now looking for finance.
All right.
And so that she can progress the machine, and then she'll tell us all.
I've watched Patty Greer's documentary, and I actually met her. She was at the Glastonbury Symposium in 2010.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't know about that, but I'll be interested to hear more because she's very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what I heard yesterday in a way.